My name is Tyler Needing, and I'm from Canton, Ohio. I am a full-time videographer and photographer. Went to college for a couple years and was trying to find a place that felt like home and a degree that I liked, but I never ran on anything that I liked enough to stick around. So I only went to school for 2 years. I always had a passion for photography stuff, but I never really got into actual shooting with cameras. It was always like on my phone or with whatever I had. When I was in bands, I would use little crappy cameras to take pictures and video, but I was interning at New Point Community Church, and I started doing the storytelling side of filming, and we would be asking people questions, and they would be giving their testimony and things like that, and I was doing the interviewing side of that, and the more and more I did it, the more and more I got into doing the video side of it, so I didn't have to always have someone else there helping me. I could do it on my own. I wanted to do the storytelling side of sharing people's stories and helping people share their stories after watching a video called Penny's Heart by a guy named Elliot Rausch, and he does a really, really good job of doing video journalism, where he follows along with people and their stories in their life, and is doing live journalism through video. And with Penny's Heart, it's a video about this girl who's like 2 or 3 years old, and she needs a heart transplant, and he's there every step of the way with the family, and before they even find out there's a heart available, when they find out there's a heart available, when they're in surgery, he's there. I mean, he had to have been there for months, but he after watching that video, I was like, man, I want to like tell people stories this way, and in this form of storytelling. He did a really good job of taking what seems like an average story and making me connect with it, even though I had no idea who they were. It made me emotional, it made me sad and happy, and it really made me want to be able to capture average people's stories and share how either God was working through their lives, or how they had overcome great obstacles in a really cool way. I ended up getting a job at a production company, and they trained me for about a year and kind of set me loose after a year to be on my own. My view of media has completely changed. I had a brainstorming meeting with a company that I'm going to do a commercial for, and they kind of asked me what our generation, what affects us and what reaches us, and it's not like it used to be where they could just put an ad up, and if it had exciting music and a lot of color, you wanted to buy into it. But to now, it's if a commercial makes me feel something, I will be intrigued by it. If media makes me feel something, it's not what it used to be, and now it's more like if I want to cry by the end of it, that I want to buy into whatever their company is or whatever they're trying to sell me. I try to work with people and try to do things that I feel emotion towards. I'm not just doing product shooting anymore. There's nothing wrong with that, but most of what I'm doing now is work for nonprofits or work for adoption agencies and things like that, or churches, where I get to share someone's story and take a 30-minute interview about someone's life and take the pieces out of it that I know can affect someone's life. And that's the biggest thing that I get to do now, and that's kind of how I work through things now, is what can I do that can pull on heartstrings, and not just make a good video, make a good quality video, but make one that is going to affect people. Probably the coolest thing that I've gotten to do that would illustrate that is I did a video last year for a surgeon who did experimental nerve surgery with a woman that was just incredible. And it's a great thing for science, and it's the biggest thing to ever happen in like the history of surgery since the first heart transplant. They've said that, like, science and hospitals have said this is the biggest thing they've ever seen. Long story short, he made a woman who doesn't have an arm feel her fingers again, and able to move those through nerves. But I got to shoot that, and I shot the story from when it was starting to when it was over. I was in surgery for a portion of a surgery shooting, which was interesting. I've never had to scrub up for a video shoot before. But instead of just taking the story and sharing it, like actually some other companies, we worked with CBS and a couple other big companies that, they did a good job of sharing the story, but it was just the science behind it and not the emotional side of what they were actually pulling off, basically. So I was able to go in and make about a 6-minute video that shared their story, shared what they had overcome, shared the bigness of God in it, and how God was working through it, and not just how the surgeon was doing these big things. But I got to pull together hours and hours of footage into a 6-minute video that really has affected a lot of people. I still meet people daily that find out that's, I shot that video that went out, and I have no idea who they are. I feel like a lot of times a lot of what I shot with the surgeon video was pulled from Penny's heart. It doesn't help that it was also based in a hospital. It was based around a life-altering surgery. But a lot of what I wanted to do, I wanted it to feel like you were there and not just watching from the outside in. I wanted you to be able to feel like you were a part of it, and you were. There's one specific shot that I did. It's probably it just happened. It was just a shot that just happened for me, but it ended up being the whole intro for that short film. Was I'm filming the surgeon washing his hands, and I just happened to have my camera, and I just was filming that because I thought it might end up being good. And then I walk into surgery with him, and that's the opening scene. It's 6 seconds long, I think 8 seconds long. But I wanted you to feel like you were walking into surgery with him as he's saying, this is a huge thing. This is what's happening, and they needed to pull off a miracle because it was going to save her life. And I wanted you to feel like you were washing your hands, scrubbing in, and walking into surgery with him, just to pull you in on that. And that was the very first scene of the entire thing. I guess the biggest thing I want to get across to people is that I know my skill level. I'm not the best videographer in Canton. I'm not the best videographer in the area, but I have a way of telling stories, and I have a way of sharing with people and working with people who want to share their story and want to affect other people emotionally, and getting that across. And it's way more than just, when you're doing videography, it's way more than just quality video. It's emotions, and it really is an art. It is something you have to be passionate about, and you can't just be good at the technical side of it. You have to have an eye for it and be able to feel what you're working on. Otherwise, it's just another job.